Hi there and welcome to Stitch and Thread. If you're new here and just stumbled upon this channel, my name is Anja and I'm knitter based in the UK. Today we'll have something slightly different. Ever since the mystery call I did with Yuka, if you don't know, this is a great Japanese knitwear designer, I was really into sock knitting, and we know it's October, it's Socktober as well. For me, somehow it started a bit earlier, so I feel like I'm in the mood to knit socks. I've already finished quite a few over this autumn period, and today I would just like to share with you the patterns, the sock patterns that inspire me, that I would like to knit one day. Some of these I've already knitted, so I can give you some perspective and my feelings about their pattern. I have my laptop next to me, so I will be looking down, but I will also project all the patterns I will be talking about today. And we are going to start first of all with DK weight socks. Personally, as I said, I live in the UK, so I'm one of these people who are really cold in UK homes. The homes in the UK, I feel at least, are not the best insulated, so you do have quite a lot of draft coming, and I feel like that whenever my ankles get cold, this is it. So I like to keep them warm, and I feel DK socks are quite simple socks to wear to help with that issue. So first pattern I would like to share with you is very simple. It is a Slow Morning DK socks by Camille Heng. This pattern was released in October 2024 and it's free. So it looks basic. It's just ribbing. The way it looks is just 2x2 possibly, and you apparently knit it on 3mm needles. I've browsed some projects for this pattern, and I noticed some people use slightly larger needles, like 3.5mm. I mean, these are the socks which I'm planning to knit, and next I probably will tell you what I've used. I do like my socks quite tight, so chances are I will also try quite small needles. But again, if you like your socks slightly looser, especially if these are home socks, why not to go higher? Pattern is free, so you have nothing to lose. And DK socks, they can be done literally in a couple of days if you have time. The next pattern that I'd like to share with you is Sola socks by Ventzel. This is DK weight yarn pattern, and I've knitted both times. I didn't really have a specific yarn. It suggests to have here Kipan Garn sock chunky. I've just held 2 finger weight yarns double and absolutely love this pattern. I've done it, as I say, a couple of times already, and I just show you I finished one recently. So these are my Sola socks. It's going to be a present, so love these because I haven't been worn. I actually am abusing my socks, so I can't really show them once they've been worn, but this is going to be a present. As you can see here, I have just a bit of ribbing, but if you're someone who have very cold feet, in the pattern and Ventzel suggests to knit I think 14 centimeters of ribbing, so to make them extra cozy. So if that's your vibe, I think you can do that as well, or just make a simple mid-cuff socks. And one more pattern for DK socks is Laid Ages by Kellie Macpherson. This pattern was released in May 2020, and yet that's again free pattern. So I really like this lovely braid on the side. It's actually on 2 sides that you have it. So the actual sock pattern is reasonably simple. You have ribbing, you have stockinette stitch, but this little detail makes the socks really stand out to me, and I feel, again, you can't go wrong with free pattern. Here the designer also recommends to knit with 3mm needles, so you can try 3mm and see how it goes for yourself. Now we're moving to a finer gauge. So the next sock pattern is a Roger sock by Hanson. It is a very old pattern. It was released in June 2009. and it requires a sport weight yarn on 2.5mm needles. So possibly if you have light decay, you can use, again, you can maybe try if you have like light fingering to hold a double. I'm sure, you know, with socks you can just play around with gauge that you have, with yarn or leftover yarns that you have, to get the required gauge. What I really like about this pattern is that it only features like knits and purl stitches, and that's it. But the texture looks quite interesting here as well. So again, if you find it a bit boring to work just stocking a stitch in the round, I think these socks could be a good contender just to spice things up a little bit. The next pattern is On the Road by Verena Cohrs. This is when we're going to fingering weight yarn patterns. Again, this pattern looks quite simple for me, just lovely texture. You have some kind of lovely interesting lines going on the side of the sock. These lines help to kind of hold the sock slightly tighter in the right areas. So I'm quite fascinated. I would love to knit this pair and see. Here is more standard 32 stitch gauge on 225mm needles. This pattern was released in October 2017, so not a new one, and it suggests to use Blacker Yarns Tamar 4-ply, which is interesting because this is the yarn I've used for a cardigan I've made. I do have some leftovers, but not enough to make a pair of socks. To be fair, I think it was 100% wool, but it's not, I wouldn't call it rustic, but it's not soft wool either. So I can see why you can use it to make a pair of socks. It is a blend of different wools to have a bit of sheen, but it is quite sturdy yarn as well. So something to ponder about. And it's something that I'm personally quite passionate about. I am on the mission to find a way to knit socks in natural yarn because, as I said earlier, I abuse my socks. Whether they have nylon in it or not, they get destroyed reasonably quickly. So I'm trying to find ways to still use natural materials, and just if I've used, you know, if they get destroyed, at least my socks will biodegrade, and I guess then I'll need to knit some more. That seems to be the story of my life. Okay, moving on. The next pattern I'm very interested, and the reason I'm interested is that it has a quite a unique heel. So the name of the pattern is Basic Sock with Integrated Heel by Ailbíona McLochlainn. Again, this pattern was released in February 2019. It has quite a few sizes. It is knitted top, cuff down, and I believe most of the socks I'm showing you, they're knitted from cuff down. This is my preferred method of knitting socks, but these specific socks I'm very interested because a lot of people knitted it, and it seems to be quite an interesting way to knit the heel, and some people are very happy with the result. So I would like to know what it is all about. The next pattern I'd like to show you is Summer Camp Socks by Zielinski. It was released in August 2019, so again, quite a few projects on Ravelry if you would like to browse. It is a very simple pattern, again, a bit of ribbing to help to bring the socks tighter to your leg. Fingering weight yarn, 32 stitch gauge on 225mm, so quite simple. It is again a free pattern, and I've heard good things about it. Haven't tried yet, but I think this is a high contender. I can see myself knitting these socks in the future, and I really love how you have this idea of having a little bit, a couple of stripes of different color to bring in just for the fun of it. The next pattern I would like to talk about is Sonnet Socks by The Wool Barn Knits. This pattern was released in September 2024, so just under, a year ago? I guess over a year ago now. Here the gauge is 34 stitches on 2.5mm needles. What I really like about these socks, they look again reasonably simple with a bit of kind of interest on the side. Something that I really like in socks I'm beginning to notice. I like sometimes to knit just stocking it around, but often for socks I like to try simple things, small things. I love this line how you have on the commercial socks, line near the toes. This pattern has a lot of like small touches that bring this pattern and elevate it slightly. So I can see myself knitting these as well in the future. Really like them. The way I knit socks, I kind of get inspired and I'm just like, oh, I'm knitting these. So, you know, you never know what strikes me on the day when I'm ready to cast on, but these are really, really lovely. Love them. Okay, now we're moving on to like colorwork socks. Colorwork is something, at least with socks, I'm not particularly comfortable with yet. One attempt I had ended up frogged, but I will persevere. I've got a few options to try, so I will be knitting colorwork socks in the future, that's for sure. And the first pattern I'd like to share with you with colorwork is Cat Love Socks by Anja Heumann. I've got a cat at home. I love my cat as well, and I love cats in general. So I would love to knit a pair of socks with cats, and I think these are lovely. And these are also the way they look. They do not have a lot of color work, so a little bit on the calf and a little bit towards the toe area. So again, I can play around a little bit, and I think I will in the future. These socks are knitted on 2.5mm needles and 32 stitch gauge as well. So love it, love these socks, and yeah, looking forward to making these. The previous socks had a little bit of color work. These have quite a lot. These are Sashika Shorties #1 by Bumble and Brush. The pattern was released in January 2024, and here you have 36 stitch gauge on 225mm needles. I'm quite interested in these socks, and these specifically are shorties, so obviously I would say less color work to knit, but I'm not sure. You can tell me what you think. But these are really, really cute, and this specific pair is actually toe up sock pattern, so something new to try. So not many projects on Ravelry, but maybe we should help out. What do you think? Okay. Next pattern is again very simple pattern, Luda Socks by Verena. The pattern was released in April 2024. Here the designer uses Rosa Poma Mandim, and I did work with Rosa Poma Mandim. I quite like this yarn, very lovely to work with. Having said that, even though this is sock yarn, I feel you have to work it really, really tight. I've knitted a pair of socks and sad to report that I've already made hole in my pair, so sadly. I really loved wearing the socks, so I felt that maybe Mandim is very good to use in colorwork socks, or possibly as the designer seems to be using here. She has 40 stitches and 44 rows in 10 centimeters using 2mm needles. I believe for my socks I used 225, and I believe that even though Mandim is fingering weight yarn, you might want to go down the needle size. So this is again a high contender. I have more of Mandim sock yarn, and I really love these. Again, socks with a lovely ribbon all over to help socks to stay close to my feet. So the next pattern I'd like to share with you is Forest Trail Socks by Barbara Stinglitz. So this is one of the patterns in 52 Weeks of Socks by Liner magazine, volume 2. I purchased the book beginning of this year. I've knitted already quite a few pairs, and I've just finished actually Forest Trail socks of my own. So I'd like to show it to you if that's okay. I will talk and discuss more about it in my knitting podcast, which will happen a bit later, but I can't wait to show you my socks. They're lovely. I must admit, this pattern is not an easy pattern to go into, but as I said, I really like some kind of interest in my socks, so I quite enjoyed having like twisted stitches, quite interesting cuff here at the top, different to most patterns. Again, it's knitted from the top down, heel flap and gasset as usual. This is my trial to use mohair. I've used actually a mix of wool bamboo from Blacker Yarns. I'll put everything in the descriptions, but I felt that again, while it was a natural yarn, it didn't have enough volume even for fingering weight. I tried before and I just didn't really like it, which is why I had some leftover drops yarn, drops mohair, which is too scratchy for me, but I felt in socks it would work very well. So that's my take on it. I really like it, so I can recommend the pattern. Nicely written, no mistakes, beautiful. So the next socks are probably the socks which inspired this whole video. In the beginning of September, I believe, I was really influenced to participate in a mystery sock knitting call, and these lovely socks called Our Lilies by Yuka. And these amazing socks, I was already wearing them, so I don't want to show them off, but I will put a picture on. Absolutely stunning pattern. I love it. It has everything. It has a ribbon, it has a bit of lace, it has a bit of cabling, it has this lovely diamond pattern. So you are always engaged with the pattern. Again, if you like something like this on like on a small scale, I love the socks. I love the fit of the socks as well. And I like the look of the socks. To be honest, when I finished, I thought this is like the work of art. Would I be able to wear it? But I do not have too many socks knitted for myself because I knit for my family as well. So yeah, I needed to wear them. So they are in use right now. And speaking of Yuka, the previous patterns designer, another pair I'd like to knit, and I absolutely loved the pattern, the way the pattern was written by Yuka. And I apparently own another one, and it's called the Berries and Bird Tracks. And this pattern is again in 52 weeks of socks. Again, 32 stitch gauge on 225mm needles, so it's all very, very standard. You have a lot of interest in this pattern, a lovely motif right over the center. Really, really like it. So I think this is another high contender for knitted socks. Absolutely loved Yuka, and I'm sure we'll need more of her patterns. Okay, and now one more pair. I'm afraid again by Yuka. I love these and I would like to share. The name is Yuki Doki by Yuka. This is apparently quite a recent release, February 2025. Again, a lot of nice texture. I do like texture on my socks, it seems. So 32 stitch gauge on fingering weight yarn on 225mm needles, all standard here. One thing though I notice right now I'm looking is that it is a toe-up sock. I wouldn't necessarily say it would stop me, but I would have to engage with the pattern more because this is not something I do all the time. But again, I absolutely love this texture of this pattern, and I would love to own a pair of socks like that. Okay, and now I would like to move towards the color work socks, but like proper color work. As I said earlier, I'm yet to be proficient with color work and especially with color work socks, but I'm still looking, and I most definitely will be making more because if you have color work, I think the socks will be warmer, and I like warmer socks myself. My feet are quite cold, so I can see myself making them. And the first pattern I adore is Lume Socks by Sari Nordland. I've personally never knitted anything by Sari Nordland, but I see these socks and I love them, absolutely love them. Apparently it's quite an old pattern. It was released in July 2021. Yeah, it uses fingering weight yarn, slightly looser gauge, 30 stitches and 38 rows on 2.5mm needles, possibly because it is color work, because my problem was I was too tight, so I can see why the stitch gauge could be slightly different. Again, beautiful motif, beautiful flowers. Nothing else to say. As far as I can see, this is a standard heel flap and gasset here, and knitted top down. So love this. Okay, and the next pattern is Rhubarb and Custard Socks by Sonnet Knits. The pattern was released in November 2022, and this is the pattern which I apparently frogged a year ago. This pattern is knitted toe up, so I've started knitting, maybe about 8 centimeters until I realized that I'm just too tight. I can't, even with the toe up, I couldn't just put the sock onto my feet, but not my feet are not particularly big. Since then, what I really like is that Sonnet Knits, that she released a video kind of helping you with some techniques in these socks. She has a tutorial, I can see it right now. She posted it on Ravelry. So if you're like me, a little bit apprehensive towards knitting maybe something new in terms of socks, because she has quite a few interesting details here, I think these socks could be a good choice. I'm planning personally to persevere again, and yes, the first attempt wasn't particularly successful, but I'm hoping to improve, and in order to improve we sometimes have to try again. And the one more color work, very different color work sock is Pressed Flower Socks by Amy Christophers. I believe it's quite a popular pattern just in general. These pressed flowers, I think she has quite a few different garments in this motif, but these are the socks. This pattern in particular was released in July 2023. It also suggests to use different finger weight yarns, including Rosa Pomar Mandim, which I have, so it is a possibility. But personally, what I really liked in this pattern is how the designer uses the fingering weight like hand-dyed yarn. So all these flowers, they seem to have some specks of pink in the sample, and I think this is how maybe best to use this. If you have variegated yarn, maybe it could be a good pattern to use it. I don't really use a lot of hand-dyed yarn, but I can see this is like one of the patterns where I think maybe it could be a good idea to use. And yeah, again, quite love these flowers. I like the way the designer used the colors here. I believe this is again top calf down, probably with short draw heel, the way it looks on the picture. So beautiful pattern. Yeah, maybe we'll need it one day. The next pattern is Totally Tessellated by Andrea Mari. This is a very interesting pattern because it uses not only fingering weight yarns, but some mohair. And I've just finished knitting a pair of socks with mohair. I feel like I'm a lot more open to knit socks with mohair because mohair is quite a strong yarn and actually really warm as well. A viewer of mine actually pointed out that she's knitting these socks, and once I looked at the pattern I thought, oh my, I would like that too. So very excited about this pattern as well, and the way Andrea Mari again uses, I think, 3 strands of yarn here. Possibly, I believe also I can see spin cycle yarn, so possibly something more variegated as well to create this interest in the pattern. I love your color choices here. So if I'm able to find something like that to combine 3 different yarns, including mohair, most definitely I will be knitting this. And the last pair of socks is Fiorita socks by Mary Medj. This is slightly different. I believe the sock itself is just knitted in the round and stuck in a stitch, but then you add some special layer of fabric on top, so almost like embroidery. But again, I really like it. It's quite a recent pattern that was released in May 2025, and I can see it's using Udale socks, so 100% wool, so up my alley. I'm going to be trying more and more like 100% natural wool for sock knitting, so I think this is a really lovely pattern. Great attention to detail as well. I think it's a very unique sock, so yeah, maybe it's something that I will knit quite soon as well. That's it. There are a lot more socks that I personally would like to knit, but hopefully I inspired you to knit some socks today. Let me know which pattern maybe you've knitted already or you're planning to knit from my list, or maybe something else. Maybe you can recommend me more. I mean, honestly, I feel like I'm in the mood for knitting socks at the moment, so please do let me know. I can take more. Love socks at the moment, and I'm sure we'll knit a lot more. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Finally, there is some sunshine here in the UK, and we are forever grateful for that. Yep, have a good day. Happy knitting, and bye.